Good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, February 21st. I would like to call the meeting to order. We're having a special meeting, city council meeting, to discuss the city manager hiring decisions about process. And we have Julie Stone with us, who is our consultant and from Stone Consulting. And I would like to call on Barb or to Denise for roll call. Thank you.
Councilmember Knox,
Here.
Councilmember Waldman,
I'm here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Chairman Carl,
Here.
Mayor.
Here. Next item, please.
Next item is hearing from citizens.
No one online, no one here.
Next item, please.
Next item is the city manager hiring discussion.
So I guess that's me. We have a hard stop of 8:30 this evening, and it is exactly 6:59 per my watch, so we will watch that carefully. We've got 3 things that I'd like to accomplish, but 2 of them will make, if we get 2 of them done, it'll make me very happy. So the first one is just reviewing and making sure that everybody was okay with the notes that you received from our conversation, and letting you know that while Sydney was not able to be here, Maxine and I did meet with him on the phone for about an hour on the Saturday following your meeting, and his observations and answers to the questions and discussion is also incorporated into these meeting notes. So that said, I want you to know that these notes will be used not just for this evening. You'll see that I've incorporated many of the themes and even specific words and adjectives and expertise that you used into our potential draft job description. But we will also be referring back to these as we get farther into the process and begin developing interview questions, because these are the kinds of things that you as a group have said you are looking for in a city manager, whether it be his characteristics, things that they're going to need to deal with, things that expertise that you want them to have. So they become the basis of questions. This is by no means, or doesn't by any means have to be an all-inclusive list. It's a starting point. So there may be lots of things that as we go on and discuss, we say, oh, we should capture that for a question. We didn't have that on the list prior, and it's just come up as important. So I think that that is not like some all-encompassing, biblical list that we have to use, but it's certainly a really good resource. I want to just ask.
Can I add that we also shared with you Dawn Doty's census report that she shared with the city council back at a workshop, and then shared at the coffee with the mayor. We shared that with you as well.
Right.
As a document to help you get a feel for the mosaic of our cities.
And was that, I don't know if that was shared. I know that's something that maybe everybody should have, but that may be something we want to share with everybody if it wasn't. So that everyone has that in their folder for, hey, we could bring this up now. Not just me, you know what I mean? Because there may be things that you think are important in that. I think that came up actually, just so everybody knows, in something that Sydney was talking about, diversity and who we are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the mayor said, I have something about that. Let me share that with you. So that was where that came from. I think it would be great if we share that with everyone, because now we're starting to create that folder of
Barb,
resource
do you want me to
material.
forward that to everybody, or you, Dawn, the present PowerPoint?
The
or do
census
you want
data.
to?
I would just do it as a link.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do it as
Do
a.
you
as a
have it to
link.
send as a link?
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you.
If you can take care of that, that'd be great.
Yep.
I just think it's good that everybody has what I have. And I think that that's something that it may be something we use, it may not be something, but it's something that's good to be there for reference material for things Barb and I have already been talking about a few places, even in this draft, where we think we can add a little bit of data and statistics to dress it up a little bit more with a few more specifics than even I had. In other words, what your total budget is or how much investment has gone on Olive Boulevard. We can add that into this, and she's got those numbers that I might not have had. So that's part of it tonight too. Anyway, hopefully you felt that those notes reflected pretty much the things that were on the board notes and that we discussed. I tried to, in some cases, group them together so it wasn't, duplicated list of the same thing said 16 times. But I think, you've got basically that key characteristics, the kind of experience preferred, and then that opportunities and challenges discussion. Also, at the end, you have the salary range and the education and experience that we at least agreed upon in a consensus fashion for this. So we'll see if that holds tonight and everybody's still comfortable. May I ask, was there anything on that list that you didn't feel reflected the conversation? Or that you think maybe I didn't capture exactly right? And I want to be careful not to get into a whole long conversation, but I would also about this, because we have other things to do. But if there are things when you look at this that you think we're missing, I'm certainly happy to entertain a discussion of those at the end. You know what I mean? If we have time, and we'll certainly have plenty of time beyond tonight to discuss stuff that's missing as we go along. So again, is everybody comfortable with those notes? Okay. Hearing no problems. I did send those to Denise to be part of the record because this is still open. So these would be open notes for that evening. Sure. Correct. I would tell you that I think I captured some of your opportunities and challenges. I mentioned that we're in the middle of a comp plan. We talked about in there that there's a new community center that they're going to have to deal with, but it was more in that high level. I think some of those opportunities and challenges are going to be much more fodder for interview questions, right? How would you deal with this? Can you give us a proven ability to deal with a situation that's like this one, that kind of. But as we go through the job description in a minute, we may find other places where you say, you know what, instead of that one, I think it should mention this one. Like, we don't want this to be 30 pages, but maybe I mentioned the wrong ones and you turn around and say as a group, I think it would be better to do this or put it in this order. But yeah, this is supposed to be much higher level. They're hopefully gonna, if they're the right candidate, they're also going to do a little bit of their own research and come knowing that. And so we do not need to spoon feed them everything that we're going to probably talk about at an interview. That would be in my opinion. But Greg, I want to say again, this is your work, right? It has to reflect what you're happy with. I'm really just the agent to make it look good, right? And I think you've all been candidates for jobs too. So I always, as I'm writing things, I think about once a long time ago. But what I would say is when I must have read this out loud to myself 20 times, right? And I still think I found a typo after the fact that I have to fix, but
I'm sorry.
okay. So
I've never-
Maxine, hang on one second. Let's get to
Jumping
that.
ahead?
Yeah,
Sorry.
jumping ahead a little bit, but I will answer that in
Okay.
advance, used all the time.
Okay.
Okay, within the parlance, but then we can talk about exactly what that means, but as a piece of understood in this
I didn't mean to
space,
jump.
definitely. So let me just give you that. You've got this draft, it's yours, we're gonna mess with it, we'll play with it, we'll cross out, we'll change it, we'll take stuff out. Or you can surprise me and go, love it just the way it is, which is not gonna be the case. In general, you have a short version and a long version for a reason. In a lot of cases, if I'm posting on the municipal league site, I'll just give you an example, or an ICMA site, they're not, and you're, especially when you're paying, there's a word limit. So you're not paying to be able to put 3 pages of description in there. What you're paying for is to get somebody interested enough in your position to know what it is and say, I want to look at that, and click the link that's at the end. So at the end where it says provide link to the city website, whatever the long version is that we come up with, that's going to be posted on the HR careers website for all of that. We're going to figure out exactly what the link is to that job, so they don't have to work very hard at it. And they're going to click on that link and it's going to pop up right to the Olivet website, and we'll figure it out. I mean, it's just a URL. And if it's too long, we can make a shorter one, but and if it has to go to the careers website, and then maybe the city manager job is the first one on the list, so it's easy to find and they're not searching for it. However that works, they're going to your website and then they're seeing all of it. And I'm not giving them all of the information for how to apply. Because if they're not interested until they get to the click, because if they're not interested in going farther than the little thing, then that tends to just be, I'm applying to everything, right? Hi, click, apply. So You'll get that shorter one, which is kind of the appetite wedding. Oh, I'm interested. It's a city in a ring. It's in a big area. It's something that is in a place that makes sense. I know what they're looking for in terms of experience. I kind of know what the money is. Yeah, I want to look farther at this, click, and it takes them to the website. The nice thing also about that is it's the first sheet because you put them on your website. So now they go, oh, this is interesting. I've read my 3-5 paragraphs, whatever it is. I'm still interested. I've got all the information and now I can surf within the website and see what the city is about. So you've sort of given them that first step to where you are and to find you easily. So we can decide what best needs to be in the short one and the long one. Most of the short ones are pretty basic. But you've got somebody who's been a city manager candidate numerous times, and she also will be even better than I am to say, if I'm reading what I'm reading for is this, or what I would want to see in that short one to make me click, because that is what you want, that click. That this should be in there as well. And we actually talked about adding, maybe adding the budget, the big budget number. In other words, 8,500 with a budget of X million dollars. That can go in the short one because that gives them a sense of size. They're little easy cheats, right? I know as a candidate what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a Fortune 500 company. I'm looking for a population of about 8,500, not 2,000. I don't want to be in a city of 54,000 people. So they're little things that help the candidate immediately go, do I want to look further or not? And then if they do, now they get the whole you, right? Now, I will be completely honest and tell you that if you had hired a consultant for $1 zillion. They have websites where they post all of their stuff themselves. And when you click on those websites, a big piece of what you're charged for is these sort of very, very fancy brochures that have a picture of the city and graphics and and double-sided things. And they're like 3 pages long and it's like a prospectus, including, graphs with your budget numbers. And I can only tell you as a candidate, while those are interesting, I tend to not even begin to read all of that because I want to go look for it myself and see if what you're marketing to me is right. And so I will also tell you that my gut reaction is I'm not saying that you can't do the 17-page prospectus, but I think a lot of candidates look at it and go, I'm applying, like I'm good. And it's nice and it's a lot of window dressing and it's important window dressing. I don't want to do a dig on anything because it's the going thing. But I will tell you that most candidates are going to click and apply. And then to me, I mean, if it's me, I'm going to start looking at newspapers. I'm going to start looking up who you are. I'm going to start looking up what your website says about you. I'm going to start looking up what your citizens say about you. I'm not necessarily using the marketing prospectus. So my opinion is tight and a couple paragraphs that I can read in a couple of minutes is going to sell me on a position if I'm really looking farther than a 7-page thing. Opinion. This can be, once it's on your website, it can be as long or as short as you want it to be. Some of these are a paragraph long and that's about it. For this kind of job at this level, it would generally be at least a couple of pages, which is why we did this. By the way, the other thing is it's a matter of opinion as to what goes first. What do you want them to know about you first? So you could look at this longer description and say, I really like that paragraph that describes what I'm looking for in a candidate. I think that should be the first thing they read. And then stuff about the community should be the last thing they read. I tend to look at it as the first thing I want to do is introduce them to your community because that's the first thing they're going to be interested in. They kind of know, they should at this level know enough about city government that that's just extra, right? That's good detail, but I want to know about the community that I'm going to go apply for and what you're committed to. So that's why I tend to start with the community and work my way down. But if you read enough of these, you'll see it just depends on the council. Some councils really like to put education and stuff at the top. They want to, the most important thing to them is that they've got a master's in public administration and they want to say seeking a master's in public administration to become our next. So it really depends on what you want a candidate to get hit with first. Because what's the joke when you write a governmental memo? People read what? The first 3 sentences. So what are those first 3 sentences? 3 lines. It's not that, think about it. It's not that different when you're perusing for a job, right? Like, do I want to keep reading? So, for me, is the master's thing, the first thing I need to know about a community to know whether I want to keep reading? Not personally. So I also tried to write it from that candidate's perspective. At the end of the day, it's yours and we will change and get to anything that works for you. So that said, we're going to start with this. I think I know everybody did see it, but Barb printed it for you. I think maybe I would like to start with the longer version because all the shorter version is a pull out of the longer version. So if we start getting stuck in wordsmithing, the shorter one, which is actually the easy one, we'll never get to the long one, right? So if we get the long one right, we can pull out just about anything we want, which is basically what I did. If you look at it, there's no, free authorship. The first one's not any real difference. You can find everything that's in the first one in the second. So it's an executive summary. That's what it is. Based on that and starting, do you have any observations from the position of a city manager who has been in this process on the other side of it numerous times?
Yeah, the long one.
Yeah,
Or in
and
general?
also just in general, in terms
Yeah.
of what a candidate is looking
Yeah.
for.
Well, things that I look for when looking is like, is that idea of who am I supervising? Are you full service or not? I think that's, how she talks about that. People want to know what's my role. The council, city manager form of government is important to somebody outside of the region, more important to someone outside the region than within the region.
And this is written for somebody outside the region, right?
Yeah,
I mean, most people that are in the region that are going to apply for this,
They know.
They know. This
Right.
is really written
They
for
know.
somebody from
Right.
Vermont,
Mhm.
right? Who
Yeah.
was interested.
I like so I think that when you look at the longer one, I think it gives you I think it gives a flavor of the community, by starting with this is what's important to us kind of thing. One of the things we talked with Julie about is with that growing olive corridor. I think you want to put in something there about the reinvestment in Olive Boulevard, because that's going to tell people that there are things happening. It's going to tell your prospective candidate where the city is with regard to economic development. So they're not going to be coming in here trying to convince a council to do something. Something's already happening. And so it tells them, oh, they're going to be looking for new projects or new things. And that could be exciting to
So if you
somebody.
like that idea and you decide it, she'll give me a number and we'll add
Mhm.
that into the
Yeah.
extra.
And I think that, I think those are, to be honest, the benefits and that type of thing that's for way later. People want to know kind of the salary range, but everything else is going to be pretty much the same, no matter where you go. And so,
This was a good start.
yeah, no, I think it's a good start. I think it gives a good feel for the community, and I think it gives a good sense of who they're going to be working with.
I appreciate your giving us a better understanding of why you started, how you started, because in my profession, you always start with who is seeking, the blank seeks a candidate who will. And I thought, and so to me, it was like, why isn't that there? So this totally makes sense now, why it is where it is.
So I'm just curious, when you say that we've got the city of Olivet is seeking its next city manager.
The majority, when
Right.
I'm looking for
Yeah.
a job, the majority of them start with that piece of what they're seeking. And so I like that you gave us the background, and I appreciate that you gave us the insight of why you started it the way you started
Okay.
it.
So I think
it reads, now I read it with a different lens.
good. I mean, as long as that's helpful. I would also tell you that if you look at it, there's a bit of method to the madness. So I always give the population number. because people want to understand. And that's that other thing about giving a budget number, because there's a balance there, right? Ooh, they're a small town, but they've got a really nice budget. That means I've got some, you know, I mean, I'm not operating on a shoestring. So I think that adding a budget number would be a really good idea, actually, and I didn't have it with. I think, again, starting out of that first paragraph with the sense of community when you were incorporated, right? You're not yesterday. This is a community that's been on the ground a while. Because that makes a difference, right? I mean, you know what you're doing, you're into your sense of government, et cetera. That's the message that's sending. The strategically located is very much for both, I think, a person wanting to understand where you sit in the community, because potentially they could be moving here. So to turn around and say, we're close to downtown, we're close to theater, we're close to museums, we're close to all those things, is two things. It shows them what they might be marketing as a community, but it also shows them where they might be coming to live if they're moving here, and that those things are accessible.
I think it also gives more information when you see the city of 8,500. So without going to a map by saying you're this close to all these other things, it tells you that you're not, it's not 8,500 in the center of Missouri. You know, if you're not familiar with the area.
And if you are in rural, they talk about how many exits onto that highway they have, right? Because that,
Everybody
to
wants
the-
to get away.
right. But it's, I mean, when I did this years and years ago for St. Clair, I learned this. I had no idea. This was St. Clair, Missouri, out in Franklin County. They're strategically located they had two exits onto Highway 44. Because that meant that was two economic development opportunities for a city manager to work with, because you know that in rural areas, that exit ramp is where everything sits, right? So everybody can see it. So I was floored. I was like, why would I put that in? So learning that highways tell people something, right? It means it also is saying you're going to be working with businesses who are going to see you as a strategic location because you've got highway exits and you're close to the airport. That tells people something about what they can accomplish with and for you economic development. So that's just giving you those thoughts. Saying that you're talking about assets in the community. So universities, the plant sciences corridor, we're showing that Olivet, like you said, it may be a small municipality in a ring, but it's strategically located close to a whole lot of assets that this community is capitalizing on. And we know you have relationships with those people. So it's also not like weird to talk about it. To your point, Maxine, yes, inner ring suburb is in fact, inner ring, and the other one is first suburbs. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of it's either
yeah.
inner ring or first suburb, I think, are the two kind of jargony things. But inner ring in any community tends to mean you are that first ring of municipalities around whatever the core is. So I would never call Baldwin inner ring. Inner ring here is Clayton, Maplewood, even Olivet's. I'm sorry.
We're a stretch.
You're a stretch.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the farther you go out, up 170, you get out of that street. But it's because you've got, U City would be definitively in a ring. It's usually that first ring around whatever your core city is. My attitude is you're close enough, right? And your relationships are with those towns.
Because I-170 is actually within all of that, where it's at.
Yes.
It helps it be in the name.
But inner ring is, if I drew the city of St. Louis or I drew the city of Pittsburgh, doesn't even matter. Wherever that city limit is, that first ring or so of small suburban communities that are just outside the core, that's considered an inner ring suburb. What it also says is you may be a suburban municipality, but you're also pretty close to the big city, and there are opportunities and challenges that can come with that. So that tells somebody. But so that's about location. And then if you look, you go into the kind of the economic development piece. And then you go into the services and the governance piece. And then you go into what you're looking for in a candidate piece. And then you're talking about your experience. And I will tell you, because it was cute and it can stay or it can go, but I actually got to the end of the first paragraph and wrote Olivet is in the center of it all purposefully, knowing that that's you. And then I had fun because at the end of every paragraph, there is now an Olivet is. So at the end of your second paragraph, there's Olivet is open for business. That's your economic development piece. The next one is Olivet is on the move, which goes to your, to some of your, recently government center planning, et cetera. But that also ties into economic development. And then just to keep it balanced the whole way through, if this describes you, Olivet is the place you want to be. Right? So a tiny bit of marketing for you. And it can come out, but that's, I started with the center of it all and I had fun. I was just like, what is Olivet next? Like, it was kind of cool. I do want to say that, I hope you do see, language that I think captures a lot of the things you said were important. So I think what I'd like to do for a little while is sort of, is wordsmith this. Is let's take this one paragraph at a time and make sure that what we've got here makes sense to you. And so we've got City of Olivet, population of 8,500 is seeking its next city manager, probably not arguable. Incorporated in 1930, it's an entering suburb in the St. Louis region, pretty factual. Now, that's strategically located close to major highways. 20-minute, I did it by drive time, not miles. I think it makes it more accessible. You're about a 20-minute drive from downtown. I looked it up. I know that, but I still looked it up. You're about 10 minutes, probably a little bit more in traffic, but you're about 10 minutes with no traffic to the airport. You're in proximity to several major universities. You're part of an emerging plant sciences corridor. And I didn't know if emerging was the right word, but I know that the whole, it's still in, they're still planning and realizing it. So I assumed emerging might, to say it was fully realized felt a little disingenuous, right? So maybe emerging was the right word, unless you can think of another. Can you come up with a word? Okay, let me see if I can find a synonym that's a bit more than emerging. Growing. I'm just gonna write down choices. I'm not gonna pick.
One thing you might want to, in the economic portion is just talk about the fact that we are probably the fastest, if one of the fastest growing municipalities in the state of Missouri.
I don't know if that's true, Sydney, and I want to be very careful about saying that. I will tell you, whether you realize it or not, that Wentzville is due to double in size in the next 10 years and they've already got 60,000. So I don't know that you're unless you can show, you do not want to put something in here that we cannot prove. And I'm not sure that we can prove that. If we can prove it, I'm game with fastest growing. If you can find a
Maybe
fastest
per
growing,
capita we are.
if we can find something that says something like that, I'm totally game to add it. Those kinds of little tidbits are wonderful, but you better be able to back them up. And I'm not sure that one's back up. No, he said one of the,
One of the,
I heard it. He
I
said
mean, yeah,
of the.
one
No,
of it, if for our size,
Just say be careful.
8,500 people and have this kind of growth for 8,500 people, that's really powerful, don't you think?
Yeah, but I may not be able to say one of the
I'm just
fastest
saying.
growing in Missouri, but we could capture something like that, right? Exactly. You can make it not data, you could not make it like it's a statistic. Well, just not statistically. Right. I'm not, like I said, I like the idea of it. I just don't want to make it a statistic. Yeah. Right. So hang on to that for a second and let's get through that first paragraph and get to the
Going back
economic
to
development.
emerging,
Yeah.
I looked it up for
She's
synonyms.
looking for synonyms.
Ascending, growing, soaring, climbing, increasing, and spiraling.
I like spiral.
Spiraling plant science.
Now, I'm not using, yeah, but I think a spiraling is. I actually like emerging, but you think it's more than emerging.
I think we're.
I think you may be, I
Danforth
think
has
you
been
may be
there all
right.
the
I think it
time.
may be, I mean,
think-
Danforth has been there.
But I'm not,
but the
it's not
corridor
that.
is emerging. But here's the thing, 39 north.
It depends if you're talking about 39 North or the Danforth. and
We're
Monsanto.
talking about 39 north. for specifically when we're talking about an emerging corridor.
And so I think 39 North is really still at its infancy.
Good point. I think that's actually a good point. If I specifically didn't put Danforth in here because it's in Creve Coeur, even though it's sitting on your border. And I know that 39 North is multiple municipalities. So that was where I was thinking that plan is kind of this ongoing plan with multiple municipalities, which is where the emerging came from.
Well, it's like, even though they're on our border, like the YMCA early childhood centers gonna be in the
Nope.
that side.
No, they've gone away.
That's a different conversation for a different day. But
Okay.
yeah, we have to, but again, it's truth in advertising, right? I don't take credit for Danforth if it's sitting in another municipality. I talk about what you've got. So you've got the 39 North piece of that corridor planning. And I do have a sense that, like you said, so maybe emerging is okay if we're thinking about it as a. No, I think you were at a great point, though. I think when you wordsmith, you have to have the convincing, right? Because you have to decide if you're okay with it. Words matter. Okay, I'm gonna use both of them. I'm gonna keep both of those and
But
we'll
you
play
have
it.
the word growing in the next sentence.
Right, that's the other issue.
You have
is-
the next sentence is the growing Olivet Boulevard corridor comprised of a small, large business. So,
But that's not in the next sentence, that's in the next paragraph.
oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
So
next
I think
paragraph.
it's okay to have
Okay.
growing that close, but
Okay.
yes, there's also that when I'm using the same adjectives over and over, I go, okay, what other adjective can I use? So. Exactly. Okay, so let's go to the content. I think the plant sciences corridor is something that's happening. It's something that's interesting. It's something that's global. It's something that we can talk about. So that seemed to be something that was a brag that would speak to a lot of people. And then you've got that issue of if somebody's thinking about moving here, they want to understand the kind of community this is. Plus, we've always talked about that this is an educated community that does partake of many things. So to mention things like world-class music, theater, museums, and professional sports. Right. I mean, I could have almost said including the new MLS team because everybody in the region gets to take credit for that. So I just went with professional sports. And XFL, exactly. So that was where I chose to enter. Look, you got enough now. Olivet's in the center of it all. And everything we just talked about is really about being centered in this location piece. Oh, yes. Could be. I don't know that, I mean, I would say the plant sciences thing is definitely global. I mean, we've got companies from all
You
over
have
the world.
companies from all over.
Honestly, you could use growing global. I mean, you can use both words, but I'll put global down as well. And because that's a nice heavy word. It shows, right? I'm not just a small
yeah.
photo place. Yeah, that there's like, again, this is a place we want to be and it's a place that's going to be able to. Okay, so this diverse community, right? And I mean, we said we were putting our diversity up front. Is committed to providing all citizens and families. So instead of just saying, hi, we're a town that has affordable housing, nice schools, great parks, which is what you'll find in a lot of them, I tried to tie in access. Because you care, when I thought about the things you guys discussed, you discussed the balance of big business and new housing to affordable housing, et cetera. So providing all of its citizens, the word all I selected on purpose, citizens and families. And the reason why I did that was it's the first thing, it's the first thing that says we're a kid-friendly place. We've got a lot of families here. That's number one. Number two, exactly, it's not residents and families because you're talking about your business owners as well. So citizens, and then it's just two nice adjectives that again, send you a message of two things, right? Access, committed to this, diverse, and oh, they've got families. So that's something I need to think about. They're all just buzz pieces, right? Access to quality housing. Now, by the way, you could pick something completely different than I did. I just went with some of the notes. Quality housing, beautiful parks, great schools. I fought with the idea that we know that you are not, you're in a school district and you don't own those schools. but you still have a relationship with that school district, and that's something that people are looking for. So you are in, what is it, 2 great school districts or 1? 1 great school district. So that doesn't, for me, say that you own those schools, just that you've provided access to them in your community and responsive local government. So it was that access again for Maxine. Remember when you said transparency? It was bringing it back not just to the assets of the community, but also to the assets of the service that you're asking for as a first priority in like the first sentence. But now we boast a vibrant local economy. No, we can do, no, go for it. What do you like? It's still in this, yeah, it's all the same paragraph, but you're in the first sentence. Go for it. So what's your word? It's fine with me if everybody likes it. Everybody? The 100-acre wood? Is everybody okay with the addition of over 100 acres of beautiful parks? Okay. Got it.
I think it's awesome.
You are not dinky. Yeah, I got that one. Are you good with the list? Quality housing, over 100 acres of beautiful parks, great schools, and responsive local government. Are those the things that you want your citizens to enjoy great access to?
Mhm.
Is there anything missing that's imperative? Just curious. Don't think too hard. If it's not there, it's not there. It'll come up someplace else. It's next.
That's the
Remember,
next
we
thing.
have a whole nother paragraph. So we boast a vibrant local economy. Now, here's where you used growing.
Mhm.
So if we decided to use growing versus emerging, maybe we use something other than growing here if you. But the growing Olive Boulevard corridor, and honestly, I thought about that because I know all the work you've done and I was involved in the beginning of that work and I know how important it is. And by the way, for any city manager, that is going to be a major piece of what you're going to be expecting them to play with, right? So, but I have to describe the corridor because somebody that doesn't live here has no idea what we're talking about. Okay.
But
Oh, you
we're-
see it literally. You see it
But we're talking about
literally.
the economy. The businesses on it.
Yeah.
Your
Her interpretation of it is growing is length. Or growing is physical geography. I actually thought about burgeoning and then I decided that was way too something. But I mean, again, if we can think of a different descriptor for the Olive Boulevard corridor, I'm game. Missy, I don't necessarily think that that everybody would go there only because you have to remember this, and you are a writer too, being legal. The sentence before that is, we boast a vibrant local economy. So when I immediately moved to the growing Olive Boulevard corridor, I don't think I mean this way. But that said, I think there might be a better adjective. Yes, reinvestment. So let's figure out, I want to figure out, and fast growing, and Sydney's comment about fast growing. Well, fast something. Fast. Maybe the fast growing piece might go instead of the growing, maybe it's the fast growing or this fast growing or something. Maybe that fits in there.
The first synonym was burgeoning.
Burgeoning. Was it really? I made that up.
That's so
I
funny.
didn't look it
That
up.
is
I came up with that one. And I was like, that is such a
Expanding,
weird
spreading,
word.
viable, developing, flourishing. I like flourishing.
Developing is not bad.
Developing or
developing's not-
flourishing. The flourishing, all about
I think flourishing is a little too fussy.
too flowery.
Yes.
Reading the drawing. The description of what Missy saw as the physical description of the length of the.
Right.
corridor Into the previous sentence, and we say, we boast a vibrant, growing,
Oh.
local economy.
And
So it's, and
then,
it's growing. Good.
and then they
And then
can
he
say
just described
the
how it
thriving or our,
Oh, thriving
the
is good.
thriving Olivet corridor
Thriving.
comprised of.
Yeah.
I cheated. I got a list of synonyms.
It's okay, thriving is an
I
excellent.
said synonym before.
This is what you do. This is exactly how you do this.
Only thing, when I think of thriving is it doesn't articulate to me the potential
potential.
that's still there.
That's still growing or expanding.
I'm not necessarily speaking for growing either, but I think there's another word somewhere, where it
Ex-
says that.
Expanding or
That word
developing.
that says that way of saying.
I think
that it's
expanding is interesting.
expand-
But it's a word that captures those things, but there
But
should
does
be a word.
expanding go back to Misty's thing about? To me, expanding says more about the growing than growing did.
So I think we should not worry that much about it because there's a reason, Missy.
Mhm.
Right.
That
So-
wasn't actually where I was going.
What were you-
but
what did you
Where I
say?
was,
We
where
both
I was
say
going was if we're
vibrant?
gonna give a reinvestment number,
Vibrant, growing, like,
yeah, he fixed a word in the.
So we
last
took out
sentence.
vibrant?
No, he added
Added
growing
growing?
at there. He
Okay.
made it two adjectives. So that we could use a different adjective here. What I was going to say is, regardless of the adjective we use, once we incorporate that reinvestment data number, that's gonna show you exactly what we mean by that sentence. It's
Mhm.
going to be a qualifier
Right.
for that sentence to show somebody what we're referring to. So, but we're gonna put one sentence of economic numbers, not an entire analysis. It'll be with a reinvestment in the last year of X amount. Right. So, but how do we describe the Olive Boulevard corridor? This is your main thing, right? To me, you have two main things in your economic development portfolio that I'm aware of. One of them is this and everything that's going on here, and one of them is your industrial park, which is a different kind of business. Parks, okay, well, that's good too.
We have 5.
Okay, wait, then I need to make that I'm changing that right now. Okay,
Is it right? It's 5, right? No.
okay, we're gonna use that number. So I've got the Olive Boulevard corridor comprised of small and large businesses, new mixed-use residential, retail, and commercial projects, right, that are ongoing, along with our 5 bustling industrial parks. Make it clear. I'm talking about industrial.
3
parks.
industrial parks. That's what I
Sure.
said. Yeah, it's 3. It's 3.
Okay, industrial parks.
No, I thought I had it wrong.
I was like, okay, I thought I had
3.
one industrial park, so it's got
Sorry.
3. Okay, that's why we're doing the sentence by sentence.
I was
It's
the one
okay.
when you said that.
You
I'm
looked
like,
at me
I
like,
never-
oh, yeah.
That's
never thought
exactly
about
why
that.
we're doing the sentence by sentence, so we get it right.
It's 3 parts.
So, and commercial projects, so you've got your small and large, right? Because you said you've got, and you do, you've got mom and pop and big.
Mhm.
New mixed use residential, retail and commercial, because I've
Mhm.
witnessed all of that. Along with our 3 is bustling an okay word? That if they're 100%, I mean,
Yeah, oh, they're full, yeah.
right, I mean, and so I could say 100% filled, but bustling.
Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe it's expanding, but I'm not sure we want to go there so fast. But the idea here is that those things are telling you that this small, what'd you say, dinky town of 8,500? I know you did, but this makes it clear we're open for business. We've got business here and we've got business there and we've got different kinds of business. In this, we've talked about, in one sentence, we've managed to drop in the buzzwords of residential, commercial, retail, industrial, all in one sentence. And then but what am I telling a candidate? I'm telling them, you better know economic development if you're coming here.
Do you want
Well-
to put any, do you want
Go-
to put anything in here about land?
About like
Demand?
what?
Well, the fact that even though we're a built suburb, we have a lot of new houses for a built suburb. Right? And that is part, and I consider that part of our economic growth.
I don't think you're wrong. So
No.
how would we talk, what do we want to say there? Can you give me a sentence and we'll try to make it pretty?
Okay, even though we're a built suburb or whatever word you want
Yeah.
to use, we still have a lot, I don't know, a lot of
I heard
tear
you.
downs and rebuilds to more modern standards or larger houses or whatever, right? And obviously that contributes to higher property taxes to, again, help the city. So it's economic development.
Even, I liked established, so, and I don't mind even though, but I think I'll come up with a different way, so it's not starting on a negative.
That's fine.
But it may just be, we are an established suburb, right?
With Little Greenfield? That's what I said, or no Greenfield, but.
It's something like while we were mostly built out, we are seeing, I don't want to say anything about tear down, but we want to say about new housing, right? We're gonna use reinvestment in terms of business.
Good for me.
So I think the reinvestment piece is in the kind of the business part. And the redevelopment language is in more the housing and residential part, but I think we can definitely add a sentence.
You could always. There's an approximate number of new homes that are built every year, that of an average over the last 5 years, and you can continue to
10,
say
15 probably.
with an average of, with approximately.
Well, I don't know, I don't know how far back, you go back and average, I don't know how far back.
That
you go.
much, yeah.
It's weird.
And it doesn't- The only, that what doesn't make it weird is that they're not, it's not a new. Oh, it's not, it's that we're not annexing land, or we don't have empty fields, it's,
Mhm.
you know. If it's really all that, and again, you can say it's that infill bill,
It's not
Oh,
quite,
that's a good
it's not quite
infill.
true, but
yeah.
No,
mean,
infill.
think about it, we got Birdie Lane going in, that land sat there for years.
Okay, but she just said it's infill, it's infill development.
Right, but it's,
And sometimes it's tear down infill development, but we don't have to say that.
right,
Infill, yeah, dash, always a dash. Well, sometimes there's a dash, I have to look.
Yeah, I know.
But we can do I like something like, and we've been using, whether it's Olivet or the city, right? The city, is, I don't want to say home of, because that's a weird pun, but home of, numerous established neighborhoods. As well as infill develop, I mean, I think it's both the established or existing homes and new infill. Maybe that's the way to put it. How about, Olivet? I've used the word is comprised of somewhere else, but is comprised of, many established neighborhoods, as well as I used comprised of somewhere else. I used it in here too. It's in the next paragraph. Olivet is comprised of many established neighborhoods, as well as new, that include new infill housing. Let's just keep
think
playing,
about
let's
that.
keep
Yeah,
playing with
let's
this and
keep-
come back to it, because we have to finalize it. And there's something here, but I understand what we're trying to get to. It's like, my
it
attitude,
also tells, at least in my mind, it also tells a prospective manager, I don't know if they'll realize this, I guess they probably will, is that we still have issues in that too, right? Something they may have to manage is the fact
Right.
that
we're not done yet.
that, you build a bigger house, the guy next door gets mad because the storm, I mean, it's. Right. So. Or there's a grove of bamboo that needs to be trimmed.
So I will think about, well, let's think about that as we go on and come back to it.
Yeah.
I do think there's something good there. I think it's just as you talk about it, for the most part it's an opportunity and it's an indicator of good local economy. It's not a negative. And so that's why I don't like using the word tear downs.
Right.
Right, because it's new infill housing is what it is. What you take down to put in the new infill housing is a whole different story. It's that people are still wanting to put new stuff up, right? So you just have to come up with, tighten up that sentence and stick it in there prior to Olivet is open for business. And if we're gonna make that Olivet is open for business, then we have to tie it into that redevelopment, right? Because it has to tie to the economy. Okay, got it. Keep going, but there's definitely a there there.
You could also.
Oh, she's gonna.
Sorry, well,
okay,
this
no, it's
is, you could also, instead of connecting the Olive Corridor with the industrial parks, you could connect the the reinvestment in the corridor along with the reinvestment in our,
In housing,
in housing.
and then use the industrial parks as a
And then
separate
use
sentence.
the industrial park.
As a separate
And
sentence.
then you could use a separate sentence for industrial park that emphasizes that they're full, but it's also your third form of revenue, you
Right,
know?
yeah.
It would help identify
it
that
less.
diversity,
Bullet.
that diversity of revenue, which is one of the things I found more attractive.
And sometimes it doesn't have to be all one sentence. It
No,
can be
right,
three
you
sen-
can-
It can
yeah.
be three
You
sentences.
could even make that point, Barb, is a diversity of revenue from, and then.
But by moving the housing up into that second sentence, then it flows if you end up with the bustling industrial port. Or park closer to that Olivet is open for business.
Correct.
I think that it makes it
It's
Yeah,
smooth.
more, yeah, seamless.
The other thing is, remember that, and I think Greg said it really well, in this context, we said we have great housing in the first
Mhm.
paragraph or second paragraph. In this context, we're talking about housing development as an economic driver,
Actually,
right?
you're in the same, and you could just go, you're in the same paragraph, you could go diverse community, boasts a vibrant local economy, reinvestment in the housing that then connects to the reinvestment in the boulevard that then ends with the industrial park.
My gut reaction is that you're stronger dealing with a
Mhm.
major economic development corridor when you're
Mhm.
reading it
Mhm,
than starting with residential, because I think that that's
no, I was just connecting it because it talked about your family
right.
here, and it's all the same paragraph. That's why I was thinking you
Got it.
you could lead into that. And then the shift into,
Well,
I don't
that's-
know.
That's an interesting question in and of itself.
yeah, you have to sit on
Well,
it and think
but
about
the
this.
interesting question about, so her point, I think that I'm taking is the first sentence of this paragraph, which is the setup of what we're a diverse community and we provide access to these things. Actually, it would probably read really well. And honestly, since we're not in charge of the schools, maybe that's less
Mhm.
important than to put something I can, I
Yeah.
like it. The people like to hear that, but especially if they have kids and they're moving here.
Yeah, and they're the reason for the of the growth.
Of the growth, right. But in
And they
that
better
first
know that
paragraph,
when they come there.
but, and that may be a question.
Yeah.
Maybe in that first sentence of access to housing, blah, 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 there's also something that says economic development of jobs. And that then ties into the local, that's the kicker into the local economy, housing, et cetera. So if you're cool, is it jobs though, or is it just? I mean,
It's jobs. It's definitely jobs. You okay? Oh,
I thought you-
Well,
I
she's
thought you
cleaning the
fell down.
floor.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
come back
Someone
up,
got
Missy.
something on your.
Are you okay with something of jobs in that? I mean, do you
She
think that
coughed. I thought
that's
maybe she
something
stood a little bit. and
that
she was
you
just-
guys.
Okay, trying to figure out what you're doing.
Focus, because I've only got to 8:30.
Okay.
And she's gonna yell at me if it's not. I get, and you know, every word counts. The diverse community is committed to providing all of its citizens and families access to quality housing, over 100 acres of beautiful parks, great schools, great schools. What's your economic piece there? Is there one? Is there jobs? I mean, do you guys talk about that? No, jobs, period.
We
in-
talk
as
about
local
jobs,
government.
we talk about jobs within the, our industrial parks.
Okay.
And the other thing is we have a lot of people who are starting to work from home and you're seeing that demographic shift like everywhere else. We've got, and that's one, I think, is this a secret though? I mean, you've got Enterprise, you've got Murphy.
So
you've
you have
got,
access, in that
um,
sense, I could say, you have access to quality jobs in this community. If you live here, you could work here at a lot of really good places.
Mhm.
So I think if we add jobs into that little list, all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's a nice little tie to the economic residential thing that you're talking about later in the paragraph. So
Well, and it can be, I mean, whether or not those jobs.
local jobs. Not local
Yeah.
jobs.
But it ties back into the 39 North where people work. It ties in.
Let's
So
keep-
it's more,
Check.
it's, you know.
Let's give it some, I'm gonna bring everybody
Yeah,
back.
bring
'cause
it
I'm
back.
starting to lose-
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, I'm bringing you all back because I'm starting to, everybody's twittering and I need to be a little bit witchy and say, we gotta keep going. You're welcome. Okay, this is the paragraph that, this is why you're paying me the big bucks because, you know, you can't really fire me at this point. I guess you could, but it would probably be. Yeah, yes, that's true. So this is the paragraph that Barb said, this is something that Camden needs, right? So Olivet is a full-service city, including police and fire. With a council manager form of government that is comprised of a 5-member at-large council. That is not necessarily what they're gonna read everywhere, because most councils that they're gonna see are by ward. So telling them you're all at large and that you're relatively small, you're not a 7 or 9 or 10, I mean, right, because they want to know how many council people they're gonna be managing. Who select the mayor on an annual basis from the membership as a first among equals. That was my language to describe your system. We have to describe it. Most of your candidates that are not from here, and even some of them that are not gonna realize that that is how you work. For some people, that may make them freaked out. For other people, that may make them curious. For other people, it may just be another fact of life and they want whatever, but they probably should know it because as I'm reading this, I probably expect that you're a council of 5, 7, 9, all based on districts with an at-large mayor that's elected separately, and that is not the case here. And I think it's personally, I think it's really important that you say that up front. I don't know if I've described it properly for you. I mean, that was my description as. No, I just, it's just such a weird, it's an expression. I put it in
It's- yeah.
quotes because it's kind of a jargony something that, you know what I mean? So I didn't put it in quotes because I was quoting it from someone. I put it in quotes because it's kind of our expression that's original to us. But that's the way I describe you guys, right? You vote, you're all voted in.
Everybody.
And everybody votes and each, the person who's the mayor for however many years is affirmed at the beginning of every year as the first among equals of all of you. They're sitting above because you've set them as the chair, basically. I didn't know how else to describe that.
I think first among equals is good because what it tells you is, what it tells me is that you all vote, that there's not a veto.
Yeah.
And that's the big, I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing,
That's
which is different.
Which is different. It's very different, right? You know that. It doesn't have to be in quotes. I
No.
just put it there so that you guys saw it and knew that I kind of made it up. So I
I
can
mean, you
take the
don't,
quotes
need-
out.
you don't need anything. You can just stop with a period at every membership if you don't even want.
Comprised of a 5-member at-large council who select the mayor on an annual basis from the membership or from their membership. And don't even put first amendment. Okay. I also put it in quotes. If there, again, your thing. Just told them your opinion. Do you like leaving first among equals as a descriptor, or is it enough that you select the mayor on an annual basis from the membership? Good. City? Less. Less? Okay. Got it. The city council, go ahead. No. This is your meeting. It's okay, go back. Rewind, that's fine.
Includes. Fire, but I don't want to leave out
Yeah, that's all, that's all understood. So in a full service city, in that jargon, in this community, first of all, everybody, they're gonna expect a finance, et cetera. The reason why you put full service, including police and fire, is if I'm in Kirkwood, it's full service, including police, fire, and a utility. If I'm in Wentzville, it includes sewer and water. So full service is the core, Rick, in this language is always going to be your finance department, your HR department, your planning department, your economic development department, all those things are part of a full service city by definition. That full service is the and. A lot of cities don't run their own police and fire. That they're not a full service city at that.
And I would like to at least say.
It's not, I want to push you back a little bit to say, full service city is kind of the jargon that's used. It's what Barb even said, this is what I'm looking for. But she might have a different solution to what
I think what you're
asking.
trying to get to, what I'm hearing you say is, you want to make sure people understand that the council, because that's who's putting this out, believes up front we have a good team
Right.
of people in place. You're not looking for someone to come in and yeah, create a new team or something. I think
It's
you
in the
could,
second, can I tell you where
Yeah.
it is? It's
So then-
actually, hang on a second, it's actually in the next paragraph.
Mhm, right,
The city of Olivet seeks a candidate who will serve as a model of government integrity and professionalism for our experienced staff and is committed to providing excellent responsive constituent service with warmth and a sense of humor. But there's your experienced staff piece, right? I'm not pushing back. I mean, you guys can put anything you want. It's just that when I say full service city with police and fire to a candidate, the candidate knows exactly what you're talking. It's a buzzword.
But when you say full service city, including police and fire, Michael, can we say which are held to a high standard? Because we have Kalia, we have,
I think you can talk
or is that
about
known? Because of
One,
full
I think
service?
I think when you talk, we can maybe. I would suggest you can manipulate or massage this other for, for our experienced staff, you can massage that a little bit. The other thing is really some of that with, so the police have clear, but the fire department isn't certified and such, so. And that's something you can talk about.
And this is
in
In
the
an interview.
It's
in
just
an
something that
interview.
when they
It's-
go
yeah.
to the website for their application, they're gonna read more about the.
They're
city and
gonna look at
see
the
that.
departments and the departments
Okay.
all
Have those
Yeah.
descriptions in them, but the other thing is, what you just said is perfect. I don't know if you heard Barb, she said, those are the things that are gonna come up in an interview as people ask questions. This is your job announcement. The entire point of this is to get them interested enough to click, yes, I want to give Denise a resume and cover letter. That if this does that, then it's done its job, right? You don't have to sell the whole story, you just have to sell most of it.
Okay.
But did you say, I heard this, ambulance?
Yeah.
Okay,
said
I have to
paramedic.
add ambulance,
But all of our firefighters are paramedics.
but that's ambulance.
So it should
It's
be-
fire
should-
/ ambulance district. I mean,
We're
no, I'm
just-
not saying district. It's including police, fire, ambulance.
No.
Service, well, no,
No,
there's two different things.
We're-
We do.
we're
include-
fire paramedic.
Barb, what's the right way to say this?
All right,
Stop this
right.
right
So let me be clear.
Okay,
You have
your
an
city
ambulance
manager says
service.
it's fire ambulance and that's the way it needs to be said. That's why.
That's what people are gonna know.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what I'm,
Okay.
and that's where I'm.
So it's police, comma, fire and ambulance?
I would say police and fire /
Ambulance.
ambulance. That way they know they're
Okay.
the same department.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
But yeah, just so you know, for future, full service is that, no, but I'm just saying, what's interesting about it is when Wentzville writes theirs about full service, they add sewer and water because they do all their own sewer and water.
Mhm.
So they damn well better get somebody with utilities
utilities.
experience, which half the planet doesn't have, and they run a very large utility. So that's that example of that extra. And I like what you said about if we want to add on to experience, we can do that a little bit farther down. I just want to look at the clock. Okay. We are making good progress. The city council appoints the city manager to manage the city's day-to-day operations. Again, Barb, I need to ask you if that's enough.
That we're, to
that's-
manage it, yeah, I think day-to-day operations.
But and do you want there and supervise department head?
It's by city manager
Cities-
form, that's a
That-
given.
That's known. That,
Yeah, the fact that it's a city manager
Form.
form of government is,
It
but
should
it's,
also
it reinforces again that that the council who's putting this ad together knows that
understands the
they're,
role of this, but
that
not.
they're in charge.
And then the other thing I would just say for that is that if they understand a city manager form versus administrator, they also know without my telling them that they have hiring and firing ability. Yeah, right, because that's a manager form. Administrators can't do that with invite, with advice. So. Now, this is just me giving them a flavor of the kinds of things for the city they might be dealing with. Maybe there's something else you want to add here. This was from your list.
so if,
Go
if you
ahead.
capitalize government center, I think you have to capitalize community center.
I was actually doing it because I was gonna say city center and then
So-
it should probably be.
It's the city
But-
center. That's
Right,
what-
so that's what I'm
that's what we
saying.
call
It should be city
City
center,
center,
not
you're right,
government
yeah.
center.
City- Yeah, you're right.
In which case.
I'm agreeing.
Yeah, in which case, Maxine, I would probably say, but I'm totally convincible otherwise that because city center is what you call it, that's a title that's
Okay, and
capitalized,
our title's
but your
not gonna
community
be- okay.
center is just a.
And it says opening this spring, I think it's gonna have to
Five
say. It's gonna be called the Five Oaks, by the way, the Five Oaks on Woodland.
We don't need that. in.
You don't need that there, but we're not opening this spring.
Okay.
Um,
This summer,
soon,
summer, we'll say summer,
eventually.
we'll say summer.
Okay.
But again, recently built city
Nobody
center,
laughed
that
when
could
I
be the
said
last
eventually.
5 years or so. A new community center opening this summer and a new comprehensive planning process just beginning that proves that you are on the move. It's just giving them some of those big ticket things that you mentioned. Are there any other big ticket things in this space? New. Sure. It's a new comprehensive, oh, it's a new comprehensive planning process. You need to look at the word process. It doesn't say a new comprehensive plan. It says a new comprehensive planning process and everybody
Because
with
the
their salt
process
knows that
is-
you're supposed to be going through that every 5 to 10
Are
years.
we updating it, wouldn't you say, instead of it being new?
It's the processes.
Okay.
and
Okay.
Is, yeah.
And
no,
it
it's just-
actually tells them a lot too. There are cities that don't look at their comp plan for 20 years.
What if you had the word new and process closer together? A new process for our comprehensive plan.
No.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna look at you and go,
Okay.
because you need, no,
I
because you
trust
know
you.
why the other thing is, when I post this, there are issues where you want to keep it really concise. and
Okay,
technical.
go for it.
Exactly. And again, you gotta, I'm only pushing back to tell
No,
you,
you're
that
fine.
the candidate that's reading it knows that's this level at $130,000 a year knows what that means.
What that tells you, the new comprehensive planning process is that they're in the process now. They've started it. And that's,
What you said, right?
Not if
Already-
he's-
And they're
yeah.
gonna be coming on while this is happening.
Yeah.
Right,
and
and
so
I
they
said just
know it's-
beginning,
yeah.
and they're right,
Mhm.
it's already happening. Again, though, anybody that's reading at the level you're looking for understands what that means. So what's your heartburn this year? No, because there's heartburn, so tell me what it is.
The just beginning. Missy, do you have heartburn over just beginning?
Thanks, Mike. But this is yours. This is not they've explained themselves. This doesn't belong to me. So if you're not happy with it, you've got to be happy with it.
And then,
But again, my vision, my idea is based upon 20 years in the last 10 years.
well, you could get rid of that
but
because
we're,
it doesn't
because we
change. it.
started
A new
months.
comprehensive plan process.
process
proves that
already.
all of it.
We're not just beginning. You're already in, you've already had what?
We can, if we take, Barb just noted that if we take out just beginning, it doesn't take anything away and it actually gets rid of words, which I always like. So a new
Process.
comprehensive planning process proves that Olivet is on the move.
And a new comprehensive planning process. You need the word which there, which proves that Olivet is on the move?
No,
Okay, okay, no which.
and
okay.
Missy, we don't have witches here.
Yes, we do. Missy
Okay.
and I can say that, but you cannot.
Okay, it's 8:08. I'm gonna keep us going. But Missy, we've explained ourselves, but this again is yours. If you don't buy the explanation, you have to speak up and like
So
not
what-
just go
so
whatever. So
Commissioner,
that, is that a good solution to that? Okay,
Can you read it out loud? Joyce?
I can, just,
Oh.
Center, I'm sorry, thank you, sir. A recently built city center, a new community center opening this summer, and a new comprehensive planning process proves that Olivet is on the move. Yes, I agree with just
It's
removing
strong.
the two words just beginning.
it's stronger.
It is strong, yeah.
Okay, better?
It's stronger.
Good. You're happy too? I'm glad.
Okay.
Rick, you good?
22 minutes ago.
I
Pick up
know, I've been chasing. Okay.
You're
Okay,
always
guys, this is
happy?
probably the hardest one, believe it or not, because the rest of it's easy after this. Okay, I'm gonna read this
Well, I
out
thought the
loud. to-
next one was easy.
Oh, well, that's good. That means I got it
You
right.
thought it was hard?
It was
Okay,
hard
go.
to write because I was trying to pick stuff that was important to you. The city of Olivet seeks a candidate who will serve as a model. There it is. Yep. A model of government integrity and professionalism for our experienced staff and is committed to providing excellent, responsive constituent service with warmth and a sense of humor. We are looking for someone who understands how to help lead a government that respects and celebrates the diverse cultures and identities of our citizenry. Working in St. Louis, a region with a vast number of public, private, and nonprofit entities, our next city manager is a master relationship builder with excellent communication skills who can create and sustain strong partnerships that benefit Olivet. Our next city manager will have the proven ability to manage change and implement the council's vision and an array of city plans with the support and engagement of council members and citizens. We expect that the successful candidate will have proven deep expertise in budget and finance, economic development, project management, communications, human resources, and council board relations. If this describes you, Olivet is the place you want to be. Go. Cool. Sometimes when you speak, read it out loud. Our next city manager will have, I think it can be either written grammatically, so I think it's just a, I appreciate that.
I like
don't-
it without the.
I think written
Okay.
you were perfect. I
Okay.
think that written, it's fine. Grammatically, it's fine without it. I think if I read it, I'd probably say it. Where? I need to know where in the paragraph you're. Yeah, I think it is because it's two adjectives together. You're splitting two adjectival descriptors. Adjectival.
I think is awkward is where, okay, so working in St. Louis region, vast number of public, private, nonprofit entities, our next city manager is a, not needs to be a.
Okay.
I'm asking my peers.
Yeah.
One,
About
two, three,
5
4, 5
lines.
lines down. It's like our next city manager is a master relationship builder. Oh, we want that in our next city manager. Should be, needs to be something.
Oh, you talk about instead of is?
Mhm.
So I'll just say this, it's completely up to you. That is actually just a it's a posting trick. It says this is the person we are
This is
looking
who you
for.
have to be.
This is who you have to be,
Okay.
not will be or should be or provisionally should be. It's
Okay.
the person we want is this person. So it's more of a, you're absolutely right grammatically. It's more of a trick of being really strong and certain of yourself of this is what we're looking for. This is who you is, exactly. So, it's totally changeable. By the way, master relationship builder, Sydney gets credit for that one.
Yes, he does.
That turn of phrase.
Kudos.
He also,
No, he made it up.
he also gets credit for celebrates the diverse cultures and and identities, because he was the one that talked about celebrating cultures and identities. So I stole those words from him. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next city manager.
But I think
will.
it's right.
Because,
It's,
see, because in the next sentence, it says our next city manager will.
Okay.
That's why the That's
Yeah,
it,
I think
okay.
you're trying to get
Okay,
agreement
perfect.
where there, yeah,
Okay.
there doesn't have
No,
to be,
it
because
does-
we
it
don't want to write is in every sentence.
Isn't it?
Otherwise, it's
Okay.
gonna say, our next city manager is, our
Right,
next city
right.
manager is, it's sort of like all those
Okay, we
adjectives.
expected- okay.
My thing is more, can I ask you a question? It's less the grammatical and more the content. I've got like
Oh,
8
the
minutes.
content, I
I
think
need
is
to know the
excellent.
content.
I love it. I think you.
Are you
nailed it.
okay?
I
If
think you
you're
nailed
okay on
it.
content, that's the most important thing.
I think you nailed it.
Okay.
Wanna see?
What do you want to do with,
Sydney's in consensus. Are you in, Greg?
sure, that was easy, sure. We hit the high points.
Yep.
I'm gonna belabor a point for a second. Do you want to do anything? And Rick just walked out, so I'll have to ask him when he comes back. With that experienced staff, that was the place that you could mess with that. So we seek a candidate who will serve as a model of government integrity and professionalism.
Where are you reading that right now?
Very first
Second
sentence, the very first sentence of this paragraph.
The biggest
This-
paragraph.
The city of Olivet seeks a candidate who will serve as a model of government integrity. You said that like 6 times in your talk. And professionalism, both words you used, for this is where I put in experienced staff, because you had said it's important that they know that these are not beginners. Do you want, that's a place, as Barb said, that you could expound on experienced or use a different descriptor if you don't think that's enough. Seasoned might sound old. Seasoned might sound older.
Experienced and dedicated.
I don't think we need to.
Okay.
Okay.
That's exactly what it's called, is
Mhm.
professional experience, that you, that somewhere in here I read something that don't need to be my hand.
My question.
That's
are
an
you
inter, that's
looking-
a, that's a,
I'm sorry.
that's an interview question. yeah.
It is something. Okay.
Oh, she, in
About
the,
some
in,
comment
Mhm.
with regards to not.
correct.
So, you know, I don't need to be in there, but if others do.
The question's for Barb. Were you suggesting we add something there?
Let's wait until.
I
Oh,
think,
because
I think what,
it
you-
was
I think what
Rick-
Rick was saying
I
was
do have
that
a-
was a place to add
I have a
something.
I do have a comment on this, because I've read it a couple times and it hits me funny.
It's because it's for the staff and not external. At least that's what hits me.
What hits me is you seek a candidate who will serve as a model of government integrity and professionalism for our experience. And it makes, when I read it over, I think you want someone who's a model of government integrity and
everyone.
professionalism, period.
Yeah.
And that they are
Yep,
able
sorry.
to lead and work with. There has to be
Oh,
some
no, no, I
type
like
of
that. I like- I like-
partnership,
that.
Period.
some type of partnership
Able
with the
to
experienced staff.
lead With, I know, I love that. And actually, the funny thing is, it's perfect because, you know, sometimes when you're writing things and you hope
Mhm.
somebody will make it better. I went back and said, I need to say something about that micromanaged experienced staff,
Mhm.
and this is where I stuck it. And what's bothering me
Mhm.
about it, because in reading it again and again and again, is it sounds like I only want them to be integrity and professional for our staff and
Mhm.
not for our entire community.
Right.
So I
So if we
love
put a
that period.
period
Yeah.
there,
that
but
works
then how
great.
do you start the next sentence?
Olivet seeks candidate will serve as a model of government integrity and professionalism. I think it could just be who is able, period, who is able, capital.
Capital W?
Yep, who is able to lead and work with our experienced staff and is committed to providing excellent responsive constituent service. Now, you said warmth and a sense of humor, and honestly, I thought it was a nice throw in. I
Mhm.
think that
Or-
all of a
Period.
sudden it was like, oh, that
Couldn't work
matters
with
to
it.
them, that they put it in the middle of this very serious thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, that was important to include. It, okay, I think that's a
Mhm.
much better.
But they have to have Barb sense. No, I'm kidding.
Barb sense of humor.
Nobody's got Barb.
We are,
sense.
we are looking for someone who understands how to help. It's help lead a government, by the way, because you lead the government.
Mhm.
The reason why, I just want you to know, the reason why I
Listen.
didn't put, guys. The reason why I didn't put lead a government is because she leads, but she has to lead. You're the real leaders, so she's helping you lead. So that was the
After
choice
that
there.
paragraph, is it proper English to start with the who?
I think it's fine for this. And if we figure out a better way to lead in, but
Is able to lead and work with our experienced staff and commission.
City of Olivet seeks a candidate who will serve as a, oh, you know, it can be a
Oh, a-
semicolon. It's a semicolon, yeah. The city of Olivet seeks a candidate who will serve as a model of government integrity and professionalism, semicolon, who is able to lead and work
okay.
with our experienced staff and is committed. There's your third piece, and that'll read it. Gets the
I
same.
think that's good.
Okay. Okay, if you're cool with that, then successful candidates will have at least 10 years of relevant experience and will hold a bachelor's degree. I think in the short version, I said, and at least a bachelor's degree. I've taken it out. I'll take it out of there too. It will at least 10 years of relevant experience and will hold a bachelor's degree in public administration. Well, remember, this is a bachelor's, not a master's. Public administration, political science, business, finance, or related field. These are big four. Master's degree preferred, salary range 120, 145 based on qualifications, experience. And I did choose to put in here residency is not required because some people will want to know that and it saves them from asking me the question.
Okay, forgive me, but I didn't want to.
Did what?
We expected the secretary to have even.
Yes, that means they've got a lot.
Okay.
Deep, like, hi, it's not just, I can tell you a little bit about what TIF is.
It's depth and breadth.
It's depth and breadth. Right. Yeah, it would come out as depth of experience, but in this sentence, depth doesn't work. Like, so it's deep. And residency is not required. Okay, applications including cover letter, resume, and I do ask for references at the beginning. I'm not gonna check them at that point, but it's always interesting to see who somebody lists. Should be sent no later than, and we'll figure that out in a minute, to Denise with her address. It's HR coordinator, am I correct? I wanted to make sure, administrator, okay, I gotta fix that, I just couldn't remember. And I didn't have that minutes, look it up, it was sort of done. Yes, please. Actually, I have it, so I can just do it. Yeah, I have it, I'll add it. But I chose to provide not, look, if they want to call, they'll find a phone number for one of us. But I said for questions or informations, please contact Julian Stone Search Consultant, and I gave them my email address. They can ask a question, and then if they want to call me, they can. But that, and if they call Denise, she's gonna hand them to me. She's just gonna say, I will get you, and I'd like it to be, I'll get Julie to call you.
So
I'd
do
be
you
happy.
put this in there or that's for
That,
Denise?
no, that goes in, this goes in.
Okay.
So if they want to contact, if they have a question like, hi, is there a residency requirement? Or, hi, when are the interviews gonna be? She doesn't need to do that. I can do that part. She needs to collect the resumes, log them in, affirm that we've gotten them, keep the list and send them to me. That's what she's doing. They'll get we'll work on it. It'll get a very simple, thank you so much for your interest in this position. We're in receipt of your application. We will get back to you as soon as we move the process forward. Always. Hate not knowing that somebody got my stuff. Okay. If we clean this up and we will send you out a clean version, likely like tomorrow. We're gonna try and, the idea is to try and get this posted by like week's end or early next week. Okay? But I
You're gonna want us to respond in email.
I think what I'd like to do is I'll have Barb send you out a clean version. And if you read it and there's any last minute tweaks or heartburn, I think you can CC me in it too, so I can see them.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great. Then just hit reply to all. And we can have a little online discussion because I don't think you're gonna make any major changes. It's probably gonna be, did you miss an A? And everybody goes, okay, I'm good, right? But that way I'll see any last minute stuff and then everybody will go, I'm good. And we'll start
Fabulous.
posting. Hit reply to all. If you have a change to what I send as a quote unquote final version for final review, if you find an issue, everybody needs to know it, okay? Okay, it's 22, I have 8 minutes. You have a calendar in front of you. You have actually a set of sheets of paper. I did this old school so you could actually see the dates, because on your phone, It looks like it's this, Missy, it's gone.
I thought I took this from Canada, I thought Canada.
No, this is for me. And I'm gonna get you guys through this pretty quick.
Okay.
The
So we're
only
not looking at what you gave us last week.
garbage.
No, that was just to scare us.
No, that was to get your, to see how we were gonna go, and this is the real deal. Okay, the two things I was made aware of is that Rick is gonna be gone for a length of time, and Maxine's got a plan 4 or 5 days away. And I've got all of those dates in here, so you can see how we avoid them. If others of you find that there are things along the way that we need to be thinking about, you'll let us know. If you look at the February calendar, and I'm gonna let you mark your own up. The 21st of February, which is tonight, we are basically finalizing a job posting. We'll get it done in the next day or so, but. And we're finalizing, we're attempting to finalize our calendar.
Okay, and the post will be up by next Monday.
And then the way I've got it is I've got a line of job posting sometime between today and next month.
Okay.
Right? But I would say hopefully our drop dead date for getting our posting started to be posted, because remember, it's all electronic, so it'll go up fast. I was gonna let you know it's taken care of. Email? We're doing email, right? Okay. Would we do it and it was?
How it's been posted?
That it's been posted or how it's been posted? Yeah, we'll just email you and say it's all posted.
Yeah.
And I think we can also give you the links of where.
Yeah,
it's
I was gonna
posted.
say, you'll be able to see it online.
Yeah, we'll tell you, we'll say it's on our website. And as of today, it's posted on these 4 websites, right? And we've said we're going to the muni leagues, we're going to ICMA, we've got that list.
Okay, Rick, when do you?
You're good. Let's say the 27th of February is probably, is our at least attempted drop dead date for getting everything to post, okay? It gives us a couple of days in the next day or so to just fix it. And Denise is gonna help me post, because she'll pay the bill on that, but we'll figure out the wheres and I'll send her links and Barb will be part of that conversation too. Okay, I want to do this next. If you count from the 24th, 4 to 5 weeks, and Barb and I have agreed that it can be either, depending on how the timing works out. It means, well, if you work from the
Right,
this Friday and you count 4 weeks, you're at the 24th of March.
Rick the way.
Stop.
Oh, sorry.
I love you. You need to let me do it.
Okay.
I really do. Because if you look on the 18th, what I want you to write down is on the 18th, Rick leaves. You can write that so everybody knows. Rick is gone on the 18th. And Rick will be home on the 1st. Okay. I'll do this too, so I'll beat you to the punch, Maxine. Maxine is leaving on April 20th. And Maxine is returning on April 23rd. That's what you told me. Okay, tell us where you are. That's definitely. That's major because I had the resume selection in there. So, okay, that's good to know. Sydney.
You'll be here for the workshop on Thursday.
Okay. The 4th is April 4th is a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
What? It's April.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's election day.
that Tuesday, the 4th.
The 4th is election day.
The numbers are off, Missy. This is.
Numbers off. I'm so confused.
Took a while for me too.
Oh, you just didn't do line. The copies you made didn't make the lines.
I don't know how, I just used the copier.
That's, okay, this is what, it's really
I don't
weird.
know how
So
that
she
happened.
made copies
I
of
made
my
copies on
original
the-
and it didn't Xerox the lines. Okay, I couldn't figure out, I was sitting there going, why are they having so much trouble reading a calendar? Because this is what I'm looking at.
I didn't even look at the original.
She made copies, the original, it didn't copy the line.
The lines are too thin, I think.
Maybe they're too gray. Maybe they're too light. Okay,
But
sorry,
still they
now
sh-
I understand.
They still.
Okay. Okay, that's much better. I thought you were, I was just like, what's wrong with you?
I'm gonna start open. Sydney, will you be at the meeting on Tuesday the fourth?
Okay, then that's good. That makes me happier. So you're leaving on Wednesday, the fifth. That's the fifth. You're leaving-
Wednesday the fifth,
Yes,
right?
I've got the lines,
Yeah.
so trust me, I've got the right lines. Wednesday's the fifth, according to the one with the lines.
Wednesday's the fifth.
And you're coming back the seventh, which is the Friday. Okay, that's the
Coming
eighth.
back the eighth.
Okay, I got it. Okay, let's keep going. We'll get this, well, I'll get this all printed out. I thought this was gonna be so easy, but I didn't know you didn't have lines. Okay.
Are you looking for to meet like on Monday night?
Okay. No, I'm looking for you to meet on the fourth. Which, because I was told to do Tuesday nights.
Which that's a regular work
Right,
session.
that's what I
so,
was told.
yeah.
I was told to use
It's a
your regular
work
meetings.
session.
Okay, so the, if you can look at Friday, just so you can mark this down, we will close this either Friday, the 24th of March or Friday, the 31st. The 24th would be a 4-week posting. The 31st will be a 5-week posting. Okay, so. Correct. So, so here's the thing. I actually have it all filled out already. I'm just taking you through it. So, yeah, I kind of am. I'm trying. No, it's okay. Okay, so I was looking at March 7th, which is a Tuesday night, before Rick leaves to work on the interview questions. Because we're gonna have to do what we did tonight, guys. We're gonna have to work on interview questions and then I'm gonna have to send them back to you and show you what the changes are. So whether we have another meeting or some feedback loops to do, I want to get that all done before you go. So if we do a questions meeting, interview questions meeting on the 7th of March. And then I'm leaving the opportunity for a meeting on the 14th
Right.
of March, the following Tuesday night, in case you guys say, we gotta meet again, those questions are not good enough. We need a little bit more time. But my hope is that we'll be able to do what we did tonight. I'll be able to send you the final questions. We'll tweak them by email and we'll be done.
So we would just go into a closed session on the 14th.
The 7th and the 14th would both be going into closed session.
Right,
Because the
right.
second we're dealing with interview questions, we're no longer.
Yes, that's what I
Yes.
was meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About an hour apiece. Hopefully, hopefully not. Like, hopefully it's about the same. Your second one could be a little bit longer.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Right, first interview is usually no longer than an hour. Go ahead. That's,
Mhm. Mhm.
so then
Just
Rick
looking.
leaves the 18th
And when do you come back?
and he comes back the 1st. So that's why I wanted to do resume selection the night of the 4th. April. Because look at this, guys. I want you to see it physically. If I close, let's just say I close here, these people are now waiting 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to even get a call from us about an interview. So if we close here on the 31st at 5 weeks, honestly, then I'm gonna read resumes all weekend and I'm gonna come to you on the 4th with 10 resumes.
So let me ask you the question, Julie. Because that seems to be a problem in various places where they take too long to make a decision. and
Right, we
lose
can't
something.
afford to have somebody on the hook for that
That's
long.
very common where I work right now. So my question to you really is, while the 31st does extend it to 5 weeks, does that really kind of eliminate that
It eliminates the waiting a little.
Yeah, and you know,
Because
but
I
it puts a lot of pressure on you to do things quicker,
It's
but are
okay.
you okay?
And
Okay.
we can even,
All right.
and by doing that, if we wanted to make it a 4.5 week posting, we could even wait and post a little later next
Yeah.
week. And get
That's
rid of
what
it
I
on the
was
front
thinking
end,
too.
right? That was
Yeah.
the idea that maybe this coming Monday changes to Wednesday.
Well,
People like close of business Friday.
Be,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
neat.
yeah, yeah, because this
Close of
calendar is.
business, they're working, most of them. So to be trying to do something on a Tuesday if they don't want to, they like, close of business Friday is just a neat little trick, right?
The federal government does everything on Fridays.
It's just neat. It's the end of the week, 5 o'clock, right? And then honestly, if somebody sends it at 5:30, I'm probably taking it. Yeah, I have one more piece of this. So go ahead, Missy, sorry. Yes, I think that makes sense. And then what's gonna happen though is I'm gonna basically read them all. And by probably Sunday night, because some of you really like to look at stuff in advance and can't process, I'm gonna send you a packet like Monday, a day before, and you're gonna have to make time to read. At least, we're gonna talk a lot, but at least read before Tuesday, okay? It's gonna be electronic. Okay, resume selection. That is that 10 resumes down to 5 resumes. That's what's happening Tuesday night on the 4th. I'm hoping that you'll look at me and go, these are the 5 people we want to interview. I'm gonna look at Denise and I'm gonna say, by next week, we're gonna have all these set up. So here's the thing, your first interview week is the week of the 10th. Yep, of April. And here's that question, and this is the biggest question for you, Maxine, before you go home, is, well, is it the week of the 10th is Passover? Because I didn't write Passover on this calendar. What's first night and second night? Okay, but when is first and second night of Passover? Okay, so we're not meeting on the first and second night of Passover. That's positive. Okay, so if you are observant that you're not doing meetings the entire week of Passover, here's the thing. I think first interviews are anytime that week. So we could do, and you remember, you're not meeting with staff on this interview. This is a straight up 1 hour. I'd like it to be in person if they're in town. If they are out of town, it will be by Zoom, right? And it's 5. So you've got 5 hours to program here. So you could do a Friday evening and Saturday, or you could do 3 nights that week where we interview 2, 2, and 1. Right? I mean, I'm giving you that whole week. You've got 5 hours of interviews. We can do them any way you want. Week of the 10th. So you could do a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 2 interviews one evening, 2 interviews the next meeting, 1 interview the following evening. You could do the 14th, which is the Friday night. We do 2 interviews that evening and 3 interviews Saturday morning. Okay, the 11th is out. We're in April. Can't do the 13th. Okay, Sydney's out the 13th. Rick's out the 11th. And it should be all of you if we can. Okay, question. They're gonna interview, if they want the job, they're gonna interview whenever we ask them. Sure, we can, I don't know if it's a half hour, maybe it's 15 minutes. Just because you don't want to be here till 11 o'clock. Can you do two of them on Friday evening? And then 3 Saturday morning with a conversation afterwards? Yes, absolutely, because you have school. Okay. This is your only big decision left tonight, because this is the first interview. They're working. I get it. And the only option, if you avoid Saturdays, Greg, is to like do 3 nights unless you're gonna be, right. Yeah, I get that. Right, so your schedule is totally different. It's totally different. Right.
I can do it.
But do you prefer Saturday afternoon?
No, because I have to stay up and.
Got it, okay. So that puts you in a jam because of the CRC. I get it. What time are retail hours usually? So you could end up gone, period, anyway. Is there ever a time you can definitely say I will? On this one, I would probably say I really need this because we don't want to do this without you. Yeah, that's why we're trying to get these dates done. I want to get. Okay, so you, in general, it would be two, the evening, we'll figure out the exact hours because we're gonna give them slots. To the evening of Friday, the 14th. And 3, the morning of the 15th with discussion afterwards about what we're gonna do and what are the, cutting that list down to your top 2 or top 3 for second interviews. So we might have to bring in some lunch, right? So that we can get done and eat and talk and feed everybody so they can go on their way. But, you know, hopefully we'll get out of here if we can plan it this way by like 1, right? And that would allow you then to be finished. And does that work generally? Okay, I know it's not perfect, but this is where we wanted to get to tonight. I think that's a mistake because I've watched you guys get tired. Right? And that last interview is not going to be fair at that hour. Can we figure that out as we, oh, you want to, I would say no
You're
earlier
doing
than.
2?
Huh?
You're
Doing
doing-
3 on 3.
You're
Nine.
doing 3 on the 14th?
No, 50.
Okay.
Did you ask me about Friday or Saturday? I'm sorry. I would
Friday.
say 6:37, whatever
6:30.
works for you normally. It's a 6:30 to. I would say we could have something to eat. We can
What
even
can
have
people
something.
do?
Yeah.
I mean,
How early can you be here on Friday?
what can people do?
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying something. It's up to all of you, Miss Ethan. Okay. Okay, got it. Got it.
Mhm.
Got it. So how early is comfortable for everybody on Friday? How, is it 5? Is it 5:30? Is it 7? What do you mean you can't do that?
He can do.
Oh,
He can do.
you can't do
them.
anything.
Can.
I heard can't. Okay,
To do 5, you could do 3 on
Uh-huh.
Friday.
yeah, if we did 5, we could probably get 3 of them done. I'm fine with that. I just didn't remember you've been starting at 7, 5? Okay,
Okay.
5, and you know what? It'll allow us the flexibility in the slot. So if somebody can't,
Mhm,
it gives us an ability to schedule them
Mhm.
for Friday or Saturday.
mhm.
So we're starting at 5 and we'll time it out. And then how early are you willing to be here? I would tell you it's no earlier than 9 for an interview on a Saturday. Yeah, and we'll have coffee for you. Boston Green, okay. 5 and 9, and we'll time it out from there.
Yeah.
I would expect that if a candidate is starting at 9, you need to be here by 8:30, 8:45. And okay, it was later than we were supposed to, but we got through this. At that point, we will, at our next meeting, we can we'll get this written down, we keep scheduling out. Because then we'll do second interview questions and then we'll talk about scheduling second interviews. If I had to guess, Maxine is gone the 20th through the 23rd. So if I had to guess that second interviews are not going to happen until after you get back. Because we're now doing 14th and 15th. You're gone the next week. That's your New York week. So we're probably doing second interviews.
When are you gone on April?
The 20th to the 23rd. Yes, I'm gonna make you a clean calendar and I'm gonna email it to you. please. Sorry.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
You'll have to
I'll
tell me.
never say my name again. Wow.
Can I, so I apologize if I was short with any of you. It was just, we needed to get done. I hope you understand how much I love and respect you all as I go shush.